I got myself a wiggle worm, yes I do. And I love my little wiggle worm through and through. I got myself a wiggle worm, yes indeed. And my little wiggle worm is all I need. I love my wiggle, wiggle, wiggle worm, a wiggly worm. Love my wiggle, wiggle, wiggle worm, a wiggly worm. Love my wiggle, wiggle, wiggle worm, a wiggly worm. I love my little wiggly worm.
Tell you about my wiggle worm, yes I will. You see, my little wiggle worm cannot sit still. A little wiggle in the morning, a wiggle at night. I